Hi, I'm Streaky from Streaky.com. Today I run you through my minimalist approach to mastering. I'm a mastering engineer, Streaky. I've been mastering for 25 years for super high end, super low end, and everybody in between. I come on this channel every day to discuss pro audio equipment, mastering, mixing, how to get your room sounding better, and basically how to hear music. So if you're making music, so that you can actually get a better sound. So if you like that kind of thing, then please subscribe below. Now today I'm going to just briefly go through my setup of my room and just how I approach mastering. Now I approach mastering a little bit differently to a lot of the pro guys out there. I've worked alongside most of the top guys in the UK in my time, from the very start till recently when I left Metropolis and set up my own place. So I've used most of the equipment that you can possibly get for mastering. I've watched other mastering engineers, what they've done. I've learnt from that. This is all this sort of information that I've gathered. I've obviously pulled together to develop my own style and my own sound. So if you haven't got access to these guys, you want to go on YouTube and just pick the guys that are actually working day to day as pros. Don't kind of listen to anybody that's not working every day because they're just making it up. So the way I've developed my approach to mastering is that I like a hybrid situation. I don't totally like it all in the box, and I don't totally like it all out of the box. Now, I used to be the complete opposite of that. I used to be totally analog, but that was just because when I started, that was really where you wanted to go. Having said that, the very first EQ I had was a digital EQ, which was made by Harmonia Monday, but it was which then moved on to being Vice. If you know the Vice, they've got some new plugins out. You may have seen those. So I think now, though, coming into 2019, for the last 5 years, plugins have really started getting better. They've got a lot more use to them. There's other things you can do with them that isn't just straightforward EQing and compression. There's a lot more dynamics involved. So there's other things that you can do with plugins that you can't necessarily do with hardware. So that's why I take a very much a kind of hybrid approach, rather than just saying, if it's not analog, I'm not interested. Now, I use analog because I do think that you get an extra depth. I do think you get vibe and character from going out into leads, and I want to hear that kind of warmth and that analog vibe. So you're mixing those two worlds together. I think you get a really good combination. So what I've got here is, I've literally, if you watch my videos, you can see that I've got rid of my pods. So what I was trying to do was have it so I had a monitor in front of me only, and then I had pods with all my racked outboard gear. I found that good, but not as good as having it right here so that I'm just in the speakers all the time. I was kind of moving around. I really like to be right in the sweet spot so that as I'm tweaking, I can hear what's going on. So what I've done is I've got rid of those racks at the moment. And I've just gone for a full kind of one rack, which is great because what it means is I've got nothing in front of the speakers on either side. I know that this is causing some reflections, but it's amazing the difference that when you have literally nothing. I personally would like absolutely nothing, but like in more of a Bobcat style. But I've tried that where I sort of turn around, do a tweak and listen again. I just can't get into that. I just can't vibe off that. And I like to sort of be in there listening and tweaking as I go. So yeah, I couldn't do that. I used to like standing up, but obviously if you're using a computer, standing up and mastering is pretty painful. So I've kind of found that this is working for me at the moment. So I've got my rack of outboard gear here. Now I'll just briefly run through what I've got. I've got an Avalon 747 at the top, which is great for the EQ's really nice. It's just really warm in the bass. You can get the bass really tight, but also you can add some really nice Avalon top. I've got a old Neumann cutting compressor, which is really cool for sort of 70s stuff if I need to use that. I've got the Teglia Cream, which has become a real sort of go-to. Love that. It's basically a Pultec and an SSL at the bottom, and it's just got a really good sound to it. So that's a really nice bit of kit, just sort of really sweeping shelves. I've got the Dangerous Backs. That's got an MS mode on it, so I use that a fair bit. That's really nice in the low end and top, so sort of both things covered. And then I've got a Vice, which is a digital. This goes in first. This is a digital EQ, which is dynamic EQ, and also a few other bits and pieces in there, which, as I said, I started on a Harmonia Monday, which is a Vice. And so I've always had one in the rack. Most studios, most main big studios have Vice gear, super high-end stuff. If they make this as an EQ, they've made their limiters and compressors into plugins, which I'm using in the box. But this, if they make this EQ, then that'll be a joy. So definitely look out for that. And then I've got the 2400 audio monitor panel, which I've found has been fantastic. It's passive, so it's not, there's nothing degrading the sound or getting in the way, and I can just set up different levels really quickly so that I know every time I'm listening to stuff I can hear it exactly the same level every time. So for me, that's ideal. Then down in the bottom of the rack that you can't see, I've got a Younger DO1, which is a really old digital box, and it only goes up to 48k, but it's brilliant for sort of upward compression, sort of like a parallel compression it's got on there. So that's a really cool box. Wouldn't get rid of that. So all this stuff, I've kind of gone through all of the bits and pieces over the years and realized what I like and what I don't like, what I actually need. As I say, it's a very minimalist approach when it comes to a lot of the stuff that I do. I try and, if it's not in the rack, I'm not using it. I'll unplug everything and just use things as I need them. So I can get round the back of the rack really easily and just plug things in and out, which is great. Then also in the bottom, to carry on, I've got the Teglia Vary Tube, which is quite nice as a kind of just as a feel thing, like a warming device. And also, talking of warming, I've got a Summit Audio warm interface, which is basically just some tubes that go through, but it's Summit who made it. It's got a special sound, and there's not many of them around. So that's really cool just for, running stuff through. It just gives a real sort of like solidness to the sound, but with a kind of real warmth of tubes. But it's super quick, so it's great from that point of view. So just adding analog flavor. So that's really all I'm doing there, really, in the out of the box world. Then I go into the box and I'm using various UAD plugins, ones that I have tested against hardware that I think sound good. I'm using Soothe, which is for top end. I'm using just various different plugins, a lot of limiters, L2 limiter, obviously the FabFilter stuff, things like that, but just stuff that I can just have as little tweaks. So it's a real combination of the two things. So with this combination of the sound of my desk and the room and the leads and things, and then adding that to stuff in the box where I can tweak and have stuff before the chain and after the chain, depending on what effects I'm wanting to do and what I'm trying to get out of it. This really gives me the best of both worlds. I think now, in this day and age of stuff, as I said earlier, sounding good, I think it's really narrow-minded just to say I'm 100% in the box or 100% out of the box. I think the combination of the two is the perfect scenario. I think that's the same for mixing as well. I think with mixing, you can't get away with as much out of the box stuff as you can, mainly as on your output bus, but not in the same way where I'm using it all the time, just from a fact of recalls and things. It's just annoying. So yeah, there you go. That's my kind of basic equipment setup. It's a very minimal approach. Keep things simple. Just use the kit you need. Anything's not going in this rack unless I'm going to use it a lot. So yeah, you really keep it small. Don't have many plugins, don't have much equipment. Just learn your equipment, learn how to use it and how to tweak stuff the best way possible. Then you can work quickly and get a really good sound for people. So I hope you've got something out of this. If you like this kind of thing and you're not signed up to my newsletter, then please go to streaky.com, sign up for the newsletter. It only comes out once a month, but I basically just can point you in the direction of things that I see around the web, and I get discounts from different people. There's about 25,000 people on that list. So please go to that list, sign up, and you'll be another one of them getting it once a month. If you're interested in learning mastering at all from me, then go to streaky.com as well, where there is a tab that says Learn to Master. There is a course there. It's probably the only course on the market, I think, where it's done by a professional mastering engineer who's working every day. There's a Facebook group which is basically more information in it, and I'm answering questions once a week. We do a big Q&A and there's loads of people in there discussing stuff. So yeah, go to streaky.com for all those bits and pieces. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.